Hello everyone, I'm Ronnie. I'm a speech and language therapist and I have a blog where I blog about homeschooling, speech and language issues and bilingualism, and that blog is www.multiculturalmotherhood.com. Every week or two I do a Facebook Live answering some of your questions about speech and language issues, bilingualism or homeschooling. So today I'm just going to answer a few more of your questions. Firstly, I'm going to talk about how to use flashcards for language learning, and then after that I'm going to be talking about how and when to start to teach your child to read. So flashcards can be really good resources to teach a language, and either a foreign language or teaching your child their native language. So for example, in our home our native language is English, so I use flashcards when I'm starting to teach my children letters, letter sounds, things like that. Flashcards can be a really good way to really good resource for language learning, because the more you see the flashcard, the more likely that information is going to move from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, and that is what you want to for language learning. That means that something is really stuck in your head and you'll remember it. So firstly, flashcards can be used to learn to read and write. If you're doing it with very young children, then the best thing to do is to make it really fun. So you can get the flashcards with the letters on them and try and think of fun ways to get them to read and write the letters. So for example, you can use Play-Doh. You can either get them to create the letters in the Play-Doh, or you can get them to create, like, roll up little pieces of Play-Doh and bend them into the shapes of the letters. You can also get them to stick things in the Play-Doh to create the letter, for example stones, buttons, or other small things like beads. They're really good as well. Another really good resource is to make a salt tray. So you can do this with sand or salt. Get a tray, fill it with sand or salt, and then they can use that to make marks in as well. Other things you can use are pom-poms. They're a really good fun way to learn letter shapes as well. So instead of writing with an actual pencil, you can get them to create all of these letters from different objects. Another good thing to do is getting them, instead of looking at letter and number cards, what you can do is you can get picture cards. And a really fun game for toddlers is to match objects to the picture cards. So for example, you get a set of animal flashcards, lay them out, not too many at a time, and get some little animal objects, and you can get your toddler to actually match the object to the flashcard. You can do this for any objects, not just animals. Any object flashcards that you have, you can use this. Something else which is really good to do is play games with the flashcards. For example, hide and seek. You can actually hide the flashcards around the room and then get the child to go around the room looking for them, and when they find the card, get them to say what the object is or say what the letter sound is, depending on what flashcards you're using. You can also get them to do treasure hunts around the house. For example, if you're using colour flashcards, if you have a blue flashcard, get them to go around the house and look for objects of that colour and bring them back to you. And that's really good because that can lead to more conversation where you're teaching them the names of the objects that they're bringing back to you as well. You could also play very simple games when you're teaching children to learn words, or you could do it with the letter sounds as well. What you can do is you can line up a set of, say, 10 flashcards all in a line, one on top of the other, so like a ladder kind of formation. Get a dice and a counter and get them to roll the dice, and if they've got 3, they move 3 up the ladder, and then they have to say the sound or the word that they've landed on. And you can do that up, and then when you get to the top you can just do it back again. I've done that with my son quite a lot and he really likes that. My 5-year-old, he loves that game. Another thing you can do with object flashcards is if you cover them over with your hand or with a bit of paper and just slowly move your hand away and get the child to guess what the object or the letter is that you're covering up. So there's lots of different types of flashcards you can get: letters, colours, numbers, objects, loads of different ones. Some of the best that I found, probably the best I found so far, I've written a review actually last week